Welcome back to G Fun Facts Online, the show that unpacks the science behind the world around us. Today, we're looking up at the sky. It's a vast, open space we often take for granted, a highway for our modern aircraft. But it's also an ancient pathway, home to one of nature's most incredible spectacles, bird migration. And when these two worlds collide, the results can be serious. We're talking about bird strikes, and how understanding the epic journeys of birds is key to keeping our skies safe. Every year, billions of birds embark on monumental journeys, traveling thousands of miles between their breeding and wintering grounds. In North America, they follow four major avian superhighways, known as flyways. First, there's the Atlantic Flyway, running along the East Coast, a crucial route for waterfowl and songbirds heading from the Arctic all the way to the Caribbean. Then you have the massive Mississippi Flyway, which funnels birds from Alaska down the center of the continent to the Gulf of Mexico. It's the longest migratory route in the entire Western Hemisphere. Over in the Great Plains, you have the Central Flyway, a critical path for a huge number of North America's shorebirds and waterfowl. And finally, stretching along the west coast from Alaska down to Patagonia, is the Pacific Flyway, used by everything from tiny hummingbirds to majestic western tanagers. So you have these predictable, massive movements of birds. And where there's predictability, you can also predict risk. A staggering 90% of all bird strikes involve a migratory species. And during the peak migration seasons, the risk of a collision can skyrocket by as much as 400%. In the United States, the riskiest period is between July and October. This is when adult birds and their newly fledged, inexperienced young are all on the move together. Now, while a collision can technically happen at any altitude, the vast majority, over 90%, occur below 3,000 feet. This is typically during takeoff and landing, when planes and birds are most likely to be sharing the same airspace. But some birds are extreme high flyers. The bar-headed goose, for instance, has been seen flying at over 33,000 feet. And the all-time record goes to a Ruppel's griffon vulture that collided with an aircraft at an unbelievable 37,100 feet. Of course, the size of the bird matters. While small birds like horned larks are frequently involved in strikes, it's the bigger birds that pose the greatest threat. Waterfowl, like geese and ducks, are particularly hazardous because of their size and their tendency to fly in large flocks. In fact, the Canada goose population has tripled in recent decades, increasing the risk of severe aircraft damage. Gulls are another major concern, as they often live in large colonies near coastal airports. And raptors, like vultures and hawks, can also cause substantial damage. In the US, the most damaging species have been identified as turkey vultures, Canada geese, and white pelicans. The financial cost is huge. We're talking an estimated $400 million in damages annually in the United States, and up to $1.2 billion for commercial aircraft worldwide. And while catastrophic accidents are thankfully rare, we all remember the miracle on the Hudson, when U.S. Airways Flight 1549 lost both engines after flying into a flock of Canada geese. That event is a stark reminder of why this is such a critical safety issue. As if that wasn't complex enough, climate change is throwing another wrench in the works. Rising temperatures are messing with migration schedules. Some birds are arriving at their destinations earlier, or leaving later, which can lead to a dangerous mismatch with their food sources. This disrupts the predictable timetables that aviation authorities rely on for risk assessment. Some birds are even becoming year-round residents in new areas, increasing strike risks in months that were traditionally considered safe. So what's being done about it? The aviation industry is fighting back with a multi-pronged strategy. First is habitat management. The goal is to make airports as boring and unattractive to birds as possible by removing food sources and nesting sites. Next come deterrents. This can be anything from pyrotechnics and lasers to scare birds away, to even employing trained falcons to patrol the airfield. But the real game changer is technology. Modern avian radar systems, like one called Robin, can provide real-time tracking of bird movements. They can detect and identify flocks, allowing air traffic controllers to warn pilots or even adjust flight paths to avoid a collision. The U.S. military's Bird Avoidance Model, or BAM, has been incredibly successful, reducing bird strikes by as much as 70% in its first year. We're also seeing the power of data. Citizen science programs like eBird, combined with weather radar, help create predictive models that forecast periods of high migration. And emerging technologies like satellite monitoring and drones are offering new ways to track bird movements and anticipate risks. The timeless dance of bird migration is a true wonder of the natural world. By combining our growing understanding of these amazing journeys with powerful new technologies, we can find better ways to protect both birds and human lives, ensuring our shared skies are safe for everyone. That's all for this episode of Fun Facts Online. Join us next time for another deep dive into the world of science. Thanks for listening.